Prudent Scholars in association with Goa Headmasters Association.
Hello and welcome. Dear student, this is the second part of the lesson, Union Legislature. In the first part, we have studied the meaning of the word legislature, then the two models of legislative structure, the powers of the president, the composition of Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha, and the election process. Okay. Now in this second part, we are going to focus on the powers of the speaker, the powers of the Union Legislature, legislative procedures, and the parliamentary devices to control the executive. So this is a picture of the first speaker of the first Lok Sabha, okay, that was constituted in the year 1952, Mr. G.V. Maulandkar. And the next picture is of the current Lok Sabha speaker, Mr. Om Birla. Okay. So now we are going to focus on the powers and the functions of the speaker. The speaker, he is the chairman of the Lok Sabha. So he presides over all the sessions of the Lok Sabha. In his absence, the deputy speaker, who is also elected from among the members of the Lok Sabha, will preside over the sessions. Now, no member can speak in the house without the permission of the speaker. Speaker will allow them to speak. Without speaker's permission, no one can speak in the Lok Sabha. If the speaker, he can ask any member to stop his speech if he goes beyond the time limit, and if that member does not obey, the speaker may order that the speech should not be recorded. Now you should note that in the parliament, in the parliamentary proceeding, every word that is spoken in the parliament is recorded. Even in the state legislature, every word is recorded. So if a person go on talking in the Lok Sabha or in any house of the parliament, and if his speech is not recorded, then whatever he has spoken will have no meaning. So the speaker may order that his speech will not be recorded if that person disobeys. So he is the head of the Lok Sabha. He presides over the Lok Sabha. He decides on the agenda. So what are the matters to be taken on that particular day is been decided by the Lok Sabha. He interprets and applies the rules of the house. Now all the bills, the motions, resolutions, reports are introduced with the speaker's permission. So prior permission of the speaker is required to introduce any of these motions. Then he puts the motion or the bill to vote, okay, but he does not participate in the voting. Okay. But in case of a tie, means there are equal votes in favor and against any resolution or the motion, the speaker can cast his vote, and it is expected that he should act impartially. So he should not be biased while casting his vote. Now with regard to the money bill, the speaker certifies whether a particular bill is a money bill or not. He decides on all the parliamentary matters and his decision is final. Okay, so he is also considered to be the custodian of the rights and privileges of the members. So he safeguards the rights of the members. The member of parliament can criticize the government, can criticize any of the policies of the government. No member can be threatened by the ruling party. Their rights and privileges are safeguarded by the speaker. He can disqualify a member in case of a defection. Now what is this defection? Defection means suppose one person has been elected from a particular party and that elected member has left that party and joined another party. Now this is called as a defection. that person, that elected member may be disqualified, and on in this regard the speaker takes the decision, he gives his decision whether that person is disqualified or not. He also accepts the resignation of a particular member. If suppose a member want to resign from his membership, then the resignation is addressed to the speaker. Speaker will accept the resignation and he will decide about the genuineness of the resignation. Means the resignation should be in a proper format, it should not be handed over by any other person than the concerned person who wants to resign from his post. In case of a joint sitting, now suppose there is a joint sitting of both the houses, the house of Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha, the speaker will preside over the joint sitting. Generally in Rajya Sabha, the Vice President of India, who is the ex-officio chairman of the Rajya Sabha, he presides over the meeting. In Lok Sabha, the speaker presides over the meeting. But when there is a joint session, in that joint session, the speaker will preside over the meeting. Now let us look at the powers of the union legislature. Now the powers of the union legislature and the state legislature, they are enlisted into three lists. They are it is called as the union list, the state list, and third one is called as the concurrent list. Now let us see what is this union list. In the union list, the powers of the union government are mentioned, and there are around 97 subjects on which the union government can make the laws. Next, there is a state list. So in the state list there are 61 subjects. So these are the subjects on which the state government can enact laws. There is a concurrent list, which is a third list. In that concurrent list there are 47 subjects. Now what is a concurrent list? Concurrent list means those subjects which are concurrently enacted by the state as well as union government. Means on that subject the union government can make laws as well as the state government can make laws. There are residual subjects also. Now what are these residual subjects? Residual subject means those subjects which are left out, which are not enlisted in any of these three lists, neither in the union list nor in the state or concurrent list. All these subjects are then taken into the belong to the union list. However, three conditions are attached to this division. What are these three conditions? If on a concurrent list subject the union and state government conflict is, if on a particular subject the union government has made a law and on that particular subject the state government has also made a law and both are contrary to each other, in that case the union law will prevail. Okay, the law made by the state government will be invalid. The law made by the union government will be binding on all. Now if the Council of State, which is also known as the Rajya Sabha, if it decide by a majority of 2/3 of its member that a particular subject in a state list, it is having a importance, okay, a national importance, then and if that resolution is passed, then the union government, then the parliament can enact law in that subject of state list also. In case of a national emergency, now we have seen in the last session what is a national emergency. It is imposed by the president, okay, and every control the control of the entire country goes into the hands of the president. In case of this national emergency, the parliament, it may legislate on any of the state subject. Okay, now in this figure we can see the list of the subjects on which the enactment can be done. The first we will see the central government, that is which is called as the union list. This list where the central government has the power to make laws. It includes the defense, banking, currency, foreign affairs and communication. There are many more. Okay, these are few which are most important. Then the state government list. In the list of state government, the police, trade, agriculture and irrigation is included. And in the concurrent list, which is enacted by both the union as well as state government, in this list the education, forest, trade, marriage, adoption and succession and many more are included. So let us see the legislative procedure, how the work in the legislature or the business in the legislature is carried out. Now first we will see the quorum. Now what is the quorum? To conduct any meeting, a minimum number of members are required. Okay, so that is called as a quorum. So in the legislature, in the union legislature, what quorum is required? So the quorum to constitute a sitting of the House of Parliament is 1/10, means 10% of the total members. Suppose in the Lok Sabha the total membership is 550, then around 55 members should be there to conduct the working, to carry on the working. On the other hand, in the Rajya Sabha there are 250 members, so at least 25 members are required. So this is 1/10 of the total members. No procedure can take place either in the House, in Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha without the required quorum. Now what are the stages of legislative procedure? How the laws are enacted? Let us see. There are 3 stages. The first stage, okay, this is the first stage, which is also known as where the reading of the bill is carried out. Okay, the first stage of the legislation is introduction of the bill. Introduction of the bill is also known as the first reading, where the bill is introduced in either of the house, whether it is Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha. If it is a money bill, then it will be introduced only in Lok Sabha. All ordinary bills can either be introduced in Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha. Then there are 2 types of bills, the ordinary and the money bills. The bills other than money bill or financial bill may be introduced in either house. Okay. Now, who can introduce a bill? A bill may be introduced either by a member, minister or a private member. We have seen in the last session who is this private member. The private member means those member of parliament who are not the ministers. So excluding minister, all other members are known as the private member. So any member of the parliament, whether he is a minister or a private member, can introduce a bill. Now every bill that is introduced in the house, it should be published in the Gazette. Okay, it is a government document on which the particular bill has to be published. So after that, there is so here normally during the first reading, first phase, there is no discussion, or if at all there is a discussion, it is a very nominal discussion, is a very short discussion, a brief discussion, and then that bill if at all that bill is opposed at this very first stage, then the person who are opposing, they gets a chance, they are permitted to give their reason why they are opposing this bill. Okay. After this, the question is put to an vote, means entire house where the it is originated has to vote on that bill, either supporting that bill or they may oppose that bill. Okay. So after passing that stage, the bill goes to the second stage. Now what is the second stage? This is the most a lengthy stage, the second stage. In the second stage, there are 4 alternative courses. After the introduction, it may be taken into consideration. So here it is introduced in the second stage, then it may be considered. The house may accept the bill, they may give their consent that yes, we have accepted the bill, or it may be referred to a select committee of the house. Now what is this select committee? There are various parliamentary committees. Okay, select committee is one among them, where the members of all the political parties, they are included in that committee. Okay, that committee, it will work on that, it will do the research, it will study on that bill, and it will submit its report to the house. Now, what is the third option? That is, it may be referred to a joint committee of both the houses. Now, there is a joint committee also. Now, what is this joint committee? In the joint committee, the members of both the houses are included. Now, we all know that the Rajya Sabha members are around 250, the Lok Sabha members are around 550. Okay. So, what is the proportion of this joint committee? So, it is 1:2. If suppose there are 15 members in this joint committee, then 10 members will be from Lok Sabha, 5 members will be from Rajya Sabha. Because in the Lok Sabha, the membership is double than the Rajya Sabha. So, this is how the joint committee will work. That joint committee will work on that bill and they will submit their report. Now, there is one more scenario. The bill, it may be referred to, it may be circulated for the to the public. Okay, so for soliciting the public opinion. Now, first 3 options were, they are regular thing, means they are generally adopted in the routine legislation. But the fourth one, that is the soliciting public opinion, when it is, why the public opinion is solicited, why it is required to get the public opinion. Means suppose a bill is introduced and after it is passed, suppose there is, the people may enrage or there may be a controversy or agitation by the people. In that case, before passing that bill, before making it a law, the public opinion is taken. So next, if the bill is taken into consideration, if the second stage is over, suppose there are some amendments, means the changes. Now, who can suggest the changes? Any member of the parliament, they can suggest the changes. And if these changes, they are also taken into consideration, then clause by clause consideration is it is of that is done. Okay, and that bill is it is passed on the, it is referred to the select committee. If the bill referred to the select committee of the house, it considered the bill and submit its report. If the bill is introduced to the joint committee, it also submit its report. Then the clause of the bills are open to the consideration and amendments are admissible. If suppose that committee, it suggests some changes, which is also known as amendments, then the house may accept those amendments, okay, and they may make those changes. Now, this stage is very time consuming stage. That is why the second stage of legislation is, it is very cumbersome stage. It's very time consuming. Once the clause by clause consideration is over and every clause is voted, the second reading of the bill comes to an end. Now, we come to the third reading, that is called as the third stage. In the third stage, the member in charge moves, he passes one move that the bill be passed. This is very, very short, in a very short span of time, this third stage get over. At the third reading, the progress of the bill is very quick, because in previous 2 stages, that bill has went into, so many procedures, it has been amended so many times. Both the houses of the parliament has voted on their, in favor of the bill, some have voted against the bill, and it has passed. Okay, now this is the third stage where only the nominal changes, if at all, are to be made. At the third reading, the progress of the bill is quick and normally only verbal or purely formal amendment, very minor amendments are done and discussion is very brief. Once all the amendments are disposed of, okay, all the changes are made, the bill is finally passed in the house where it is introduced. Thereafter, it is transmitted to the other house. Means if the bill is passed in the Lok Sabha, it is transmitted to the Rajya Sabha. If that bill is introduced in the Rajya Sabha, it is passed over to the Lok Sabha. It is transmitted to the other house for its consideration. Now, when the bill comes up for the consideration of the other house, it has to undergo all the stages in the originating house. means it has to undergo all the 3 stages, the first stage, second stage, the third stage, and thereafter the 3 options are there before that house. They can finally pass the bill as sent by the originating house, means as it is they can pass the bill. They may reject the bill, they may send it back that we have rejected, saying that we have rejected, or they may amend it, they may make minor changes in that bill and return to the originating house. Now here it may not take any action on the bill. This is the third scenario. When the house may not take any action, it may keep the bill pending, and if more than 6 months have passed, then it is considered that the bill is rejected. Okay. Now the originating house, if accept this amendment, it is up to that house whether to accept it or not. Then if it accept the amendment, it will send a message to that house, okay, to that this effect. Now if it does not accept the amendment, then also it send a message and the bill is returned to the house. In case both the house do not agree, now here there is a joint sitting. The president will summon a joint sitting of both the houses. The speaker will preside over that joint sitting. Now the disputed provision is finally adopted or rejected. In the joint sitting, the members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha will unitedly they will vote in favor or against that bill, and that bill may be passed or may be rejected. Now after passing that stage, that bill will go to the president for his assent. Now the bill that is finally passed by both the houses is presented with the signature of the speaker to the president for his assent. Now we have seen in the last session that president will have 3 option before him. He can give his assent, he can withhold his assent, or he can send the bill back. Now if president gives the assent, the bill becomes an act, which is also known as a law, and is placed in the statute book. Now statute book means all the laws are compiled in that book, which is also known as a statute bill. Now if the president withhold his assent, if he does not give his assent, if he refused to sign on that bill, there is an end to that bill, means it will not go further. Now the president may also return the bill for the reconsideration. Now the president may attach one message to that bill, and he may send back to that originating house saying that you please reconsider on this bill. Now what the house will do now? If however the house pass the bill again, now the bill will again be passed with or without the amendment, with or without taking into consideration the suggestion by the president. This is the second time the bill is being passed, and it is again given to the submitted to the president for his assent. Now for the second time, the president, he cannot use his veto power, he has to give his assent. So when the bill is passed to the second time, the president has to compulsorily sign on that bill. Thus the lawmaking is a long and cumbersome, it is a very tedious process. It is not a very easy process, and it becomes very difficult to pass a particular bill in a very short time. So for that matter, the proper drafting of the bill is required. If there are no vague words, if the bill is very properly drafted, then it may be passed in a much shorter time. Okay. So let us see the money bills now. We have seen in the previous slides that there are 2 types of bill. One is money bill, another is a ordinary bill. Now money bill can only be passed in the Lok Sabha, whereas the ordinary bills can be passed either in the Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha. Now any bill which relates to revenue and expenditure, it is declared to be the money bill. Okay, from where the expenditure can be incurred from the fund of government, that is called as the money bill. So a money bill cannot be introduced in the Rajya Sabha. It can only be introduced in the Lok Sabha. Once a money bill is passed by the Lok Sabha, it is transmitted to the Rajya Sabha. It is originated in the Lok Sabha, it is passed in the Lok Sabha, then it will be passed in the, transferred in the, transmitted to the Rajya Sabha. The Rajya Sabha cannot reject a money bill. It has to compulsorily give its assent. Now suppose Rajya Sabha must within a period of 14 days from the date of receipt of the bill return the bill to the Lok Sabha. If the Lok Sabha accept any of the recommendation, the bill is deemed to have been passed. Now the Rajya Sabha can give its recommendation. Rajya Sabha can suggest the amendments. It is up to the Lok Sabha whether to accept it or not. If Lok Sabha accept those amendments, it is considered as the bill is passed. Even if Lok Sabha does not accept any of the recommendation, then also the bill is considered to be passed in both the houses without the amendments. If the money bill is passed by the Lok Sabha and transmitted to the Rajya Sabha for its recommendation is not returned to it within the 14 days, it deemed to have been passed by both the houses at the expiry of the said period in the original form. If 14 days have passed, then it is considered as being passed. Okay. Now let us see the parliamentary devices to control the executive. So there are two sections in the parliament, the legislature and the executive. Legislature makes up of the elected members and the executive are the ministers. So there are some devices given by the constitution to control these executives. Now what are these devices? One of the important functions of the parliament is to control the executive. The following are the mechanism available for it for this purpose. So first one is a question hour, then the 0 hour, calling attention motion, shorter duration discussion, adjournment motion and the motion of confidence or no confidence. Let us see one by one. The first one, that is question hour. Every sitting of the either houses of the parliament, it begins with the question hour, which is available for asking and answering questions. So every member, he can ask a question to that particular minister. Okay, asking of question is an inherent parliamentary right of all the members, irrespective of their party affiliation. So a member belonging to a ruling party may also ask a question to a particular minister because he represents the people from his constituency. He is answerable to them, so he can ask question. Okay, the question could be asked with a sufficient prior notice. So when you are going to ask the question in a question hour, it should be asked with a prior notice. Okay. Now what is the 0 hour? The time immediately following the question hour. After question hour comes the 0 hour. This period is popularly known as 0 hour because it starts around 12 noon. Okay, so this is called as the 0 hour. So matters of immediate importance about which written question could not be asked. We have seen in the question hour, the question should be asked with a prior notice. It should be asked in advance. In the 0 hour, the question could be asked without sufficient prior notice. Okay, these questions are raised during the 0 hour. Let us see the calling attention motion. What is this calling attention motion? This is moved to call the attention of the minister to any matter of urgent public importance. So any member can pass this calling attention motion to attract the attention of that particular minister towards any issue, and at the end that minister has to he has to brief on that matter. Okay, now which matters can be covered in this calling attention? Only those matters which are primarily concern of the union government. Okay, primarily concern of the central government can be raised through the calling attention motion. There is a short duration discussion, very short discussion. It is under rule 193. Okay, it allows the member to raise an important issue through the discussion. At the end of the discussion, the minister concerned give a brief reply. Here the minister has to reply to the House. Now, adjournment motion. What is the adjournment motion? The adjournment motion is admitted leads to setting aside of the normal business of the House for discussing the matter mentioned in the motion. Now, what is this adjournment motion? Means if that motion is passed, the routine matter is kept aside and the discussion is done on that particular issue for which the adjournment motion is passed. And the purpose of the adjournment motion is to take the government to task for a recent act. If government has done something that it hurt the sentiment of the people, or if it is disliked by the people, in that case this adjournment motion can be passed by the opposition, and if this is passed, it is considered to be a serious consequence. Means here it is considered to be a sort of censure, means a severe criticism on the government. Okay. Now finally the motion of confidence or the motion of no confidence. What is this motion of confidence? The government in power moves the motion of confidence to prove its majority. So usually this motion is passed after the government is formed by the election. After the election, after the general election, when the government is formed, this motion is passed. Now this is passed, the motion of confidence is passed by the ruling party. Similarly, the opposition party, they may move the motion of no confidence, that we do not trust on this government. The majority of the people are not in favor of the government. If this is what the opposition party thinks, they may move a confidence of no confidence motion. Okay. Now the no confidence motion is moved to defeat the government on the floor of the House. Generally these motions are moved to discuss major political issues. Okay. After discussing these issues, the voting is done, and if majority of the people they favors the government, then the government will survive. If the majority of the people opposes the government, then the government has to step down. Okay. To the end of the lesson, there are parliamentary committees. Now there are several committees in the parliament. The entire, the council of ministers, or we call them executive, they are overburdened by so many duties, so they cannot look into the day-to-day matters. So there are several committees formed in the parliament. Okay, these are called as the parliamentary committees. Several committees are established by the parliament with necessary powers to scrutinize the working of the different departments of the government. For this purpose, the parliamentary committees are formed. So let us sum up this lesson. In this part, we have seen the powers of the speaker, the different powers of the speaker. Then we have, focused on the powers of the union legislature. Okay, how there are the three lists, and how the central as well as the state government is empowered to enact laws. Then the legislative procedures like the passing of the bills, the reading of the bills, then the parliamentary devices to control the executive. Okay, like the adjournment motion, motion of no confidence. Okay, this is what we have seen in this part. With this, the second part of the lesson, union legislature, come to an end. Thank you very much.